All right, I wanted to mention one more thing before we went on. I showed you this file before. This is that XML file. Okay, so this is the file that when you run the program, basically that's what fills this up. Okay, and just so you see it, so if I come in here and add a product, ABC 1, 2, 3, or 12, 13, whatever, a product, and it's $100. As soon as I click save and I exit, you'll notice that that's been added in here. All right. And in just the same way, I run it again, and I highlight that one, and I choose delete, and yes, and I exit, it's now gone. All right. All I'm trying to show you is we're getting to the point where we've got it, at times at least, we're going to have to make different types of files communicate with one another. All right. Okay, that's enough on this one. So what I'd like everybody to do, please, is get into Visual Studio and start up a new project. So create a new project. It's going to be a console app. All right, a console app for the .NET framework right here. And it doesn't really matter. You know, you don't even have to save this if you don't want to. But I'm going to call this just OOP example. I don't know. And make sure you save it where you want to save yours. So with me, it's on the desktop. So I'm just creating a simple, you're not turning this in or anything, but it's going to allow me to go through some of the stuff that's in here that I think is important for you to realize how to work with. All right. So OOP example, that's fine. I'm going to click create. And there it is. Now, all we're going to do for right now is just work with this console project. All right. So I'm not going to worry about creating a class library or anything like that for right now. Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my project, which says it's just OOP example, not the solution, but the project. I'm going to right mouse click on the project. I'm going to choose add. And I'll just go down to the bottom here where it says class. Or again, you can choose new item and go to class from there. It doesn't matter. All right. But this is kind of a tried and true. Typically, when people are learning object-oriented programming, they do it in one of two ways. You start to create classes, and they're either animals or they're shapes. It just seems that's the way it is. All right. And I've taken two classes on this. And the first one, they did animals, and the second one, they did shapes. You might say, what do you mean animals and shapes? You'll understand more when we get into this. So I'm going to create a class. I'm just going to call it animal. Okay. So this, like I said, this is going to be my animal class. And what I'm going to be attempting to show you in here as we get going and as we're working in here, of course, I printed out everything I wanted except that class. That's lovely. All right. I'll tell you what I'm going to cheat. I should already have this, what we're about to do. And I know it works, and I'm tired of typing in stuff and screwing it up in front of you. I don't want to do that. So let's see if I can find it here. That's the wrong one. That's the right one. And that's not the right one. All right, I'm going to give you a chance to type this in, and we're going to be going over it just a bit. And don't worry about that. That's just a warning. It's not an error. We'll get all this fixed. But I want to show you. The first thing I want to do is I want to mention something. Have you ever done this where you're typing and maybe you want to put in a line of code, or you got something real big that you want to start typing, and it doesn't do word wrap for you? You know what I'm talking about? And maybe you've done that. Maybe you think, I don't care. Or maybe you do care. So I'll show you how to turn word wrap on if you ever want to do it. Okay? And all it is you go into Tools and you go down to Options. And of course, I'm sure I'll forget which one it is. Text Editor General. Boy, I hate that when I want to show you something and I forget what I'm doing. But there, it is in here. I'm close, okay? And we'll find it. I'll find it in just a minute. I'll find it during your next break, and then I'll show it to you. But you can turn on word wrap, and I've done that. All right, so what are we doing in here? Well, first of all, I want you to understand something. We use the word bool, correct? And that means that it's a Boolean variable. We could also do this if we wanted to. Notice though it turns kind of that bluish when you do that. All bool is it's an alias for Boolean. So you actually can use either one of them. That's what I want to get across to you. And I even found this thing. I went out on Stack Overflow, and what is the difference between bool and Boolean types? And basically the person in there, you have to scroll down because I read all the answers, and one of the better ones is towards the bottom. The guy goes, there's no difference. They're just aliases for one another, which is basically what they are. All right. So we're going to say that we're going to set up an animal. And in our animal, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up 3 of these variables. All right. And the first one is can fly. And you'll notice it's a Boolean. So for instance, what we're going to end up doing in just a minute is we're going to create a couple more classes. We're going to create one called dog, and we're going to create one called bird. You can guess which one can fly. All right. Now, I think 2 or 3 months ago, my sister, who's a historian herself, decided that she wanted a St. Bernard. So in the middle of a snowstorm, drove to Pennsylvania and picked one up. All right. The reason I'm telling you that is St. Bernards can get pretty big. They can get pretty tall, and they can get pretty heavy. But we're also going to create a bird class. Birds can fly. Birds typically aren't very heavy, and they're not very big. Now, I mean, there can be big birds. I understand that. All right. But what I'm saying is for the can fly is going to be more for the bird, and the height and the weight are going to be more for the dog. Does that make sense to you? And we're setting them up with these auto indexers here. So we're setting them up like this. And this does work. All right. Right now, if I run it, it's not because I haven't created yet some of the other stuff I need. But it will work. Okay. So I'm going to have 2 constructors in here. This is my parameterless instructor. And I'm just going to call this, how about this? Parameterless animal class constructor. So in other words, if I create a new animal and I don't give it any information about can fly or height or weight, okay, somebody tell me this. We learned this yesterday. If I call this constructor right here, that right line is going to print. It is going to print. I'm just telling you right now. It's going to print. But what are these values going to be? What are those values going to be if I do it with a parameterless constructor? You saw this on one of the pages yesterday. What's can fly? What will it be? Yes. And what will height and weight be? Yes. Now, that's not going to buy you a lot. And we could add different things in there if we wanted to, but that's fine. So if we create a brand new animal and we call this constructor right here, that's all that's going to happen. All right. So this will be a parameter animal class constructor. Now, what you'll notice in here, I didn't have to call them can fly, height, and weight. So I call them CF and I call them H and I call them W. Now, there's a good news and a bad news about doing this. The good news is it's less typing. The bad news is when we start creating other classes, it's going to be more confusing. Did you hear what I said? So you can do it like this, and I'm going to leave it like this, but what many developers do is they just call this can fly, they call this height, and they call this weight. It's all a matter of personal preference. Okay? Also, just so you know, the word this and the period. If I look at that right now, it says the name can be simplified. If I highlight that, what that means is if I click the button to simplify it, it's going to get rid of the this and the dot. They're not needed in this language. I'm doing it because I want you to realize this dot can fly, this dot height, and this dot weight. That's these things right here. Does what I just said make sense to you? It is anyway, even if you don't use the word this in the period. But most people put them in there. You don't have to. So if you're tested on this stuff and you don't put it in, I don't care. All right? So what we're saying is there are two ways that we can create an animal. All right? What do I mean? I want to show you exactly what I mean. I'm doing this unbelievably slow on purpose. Okay? So I'm going to come over here to my program. This is my main file right here. And I'm going to create two animals right now. So I'm going to say animal, animal, animal. All right. Animal 1 equals new animal. You notice it finds it in the IntelliSense? See that? All right. All right, and then I'm going to create another one that I'm going to call animal 2, and this will invoke the other constructor. So it'll be a new animal. All right, it can't fly, so it'll be false. Its height, let's just say it is going to be some kind of a dog. We'll say 36 inches, and its weight, 50 pounds. All right. And just to verify what we said before, when I asked and James answered those questions, we're going to print out both of these. Okay? So, we're going to want to come in and literally just print out what each one of these animals, for lack of better words, looks like. Now, don't type this in because I want to show you something. Okay? So I'm going to type in here, I'm going to print out animal 1. So again, I'm going to get rid of this in a minute. That's why I'm saying don't type this. So animal 1 plus animal 1. All right. And then I'm going to do it again. Oops. I haven't shown you a lot of the shortcuts in here. You know how I've been using always that using static system.console? Well, if you don't want to use that, we've already got system in here, right? So we could type in console.writeline. There's a shortcut. If you type in CW, oh, not there. If you type in CW and you hit the tab key twice, notice what happens. CW, tab, tab. See that? It's not a big thing, but it's a shortcut. That's all I'm trying to show you. Okay? Now I got ing in here. I don't know what the hell I did. You thing. There we go. All right. So then I'm going to do the same thing with animal 2. All right. And again, I don't think at least I'm going to keep these. So I'm going to save and I'm going to run this. Oop. It is going to fly right off the screen, so I need a console.readline. Okay, so let me try it again. And notice what it says. I know it's a little hard to read. I don't think I can make it a little bigger. There we go. So it called both constructors. First it called the parameterless one. Then it called the one with parameters. Okay? But notice what it printed out. The name of the project, example.animal, and dot animal one, or I guess just dot animal. It's printing out references. It's not printing out actual values. It doesn't understand what it is that we want it to do. All right? Can we change that? Well, yes. I think we can come in here and do something like this. So animal one, what if we typed in this? Animal one dot, now let's see what it has in here. Well, it's got, I don't know why, but it's got a speak and a run. Oh, we haven't put those in yet. It's got a climb, and it's got a toString. So what doesn't it have? Well, how about can fly? It doesn't understand what that is. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't, because that's defined in another file. Okay? So it doesn't understand what it means. But I want to do that. I want to be able to just say console.writeLine. In fact, I just want to print this. Just animal one and animal two. I want to do that, and I want it to work. So how do I get that to work? Well, I go back into my animals in here, and we're going to put other stuff in here. You can see this. Don't worry about putting that in. This is what I care about. All right? We want to have a toString method in there. We're telling it right inside of the class itself what to print. So it should come back in and say can fly, and it'll be true or false. Then on the next line, height, a certain height followed by inches, a weight followed by weight in inches. Does what I'm saying make sense to you? So we're defining that method in there. I'm going to give you a chance to type that in. So again, what we'll want it to say for the first dog, or for the first animal, if we did it right, what should print out then is can fly, colon, false. Then on the next line, height, 0, and then weight, 0. That's what should print out for that. Should be animal one. Because again, that was our parameter list constructor. And then for animal two, okay, I don't remember what we put in there, but we'll put in, maybe we'll even change it to true. I don't know. But can fly, I think right now is still set to false. And that's fine. And the height, I believe we set to 36. And the weight, we set to like whatever it was, 50 or whatever. Does this make sense to people? Plus we put in here, I think, inches and pounds. So inches and pounds. Okay? That's what we want to have happen. Okay, has everybody had a chance to put in that toString method? Okay, good. So I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to run it again, and guess what? It still ain't going to work. But we'll fix it in just a minute. Okay? So I'm going to come back to my program. I'll save everything. I'm going to go back to the regular program. And, well, it should work now, right? Because we just did that. No, it won't. It's going to give me the same junk it gave me before. Exactly the same. And now yours, if you run it, probably says the same thing as this. And that's fine, because we're going to fix it right now. All right? How many times would you guess this semester? Because my answer is going to be well over 100. Have you done something like this? Don't type this in, because I'm going to remove it right away. But have you done something like this? Decimal salary equals 49,000 M. And then you've printed it out and you've said something like salary dot to string, and you printed it out like this. Would you agree you've done that many times this semester? Something like that? All right. Well, that's kind of what we want to do right now. The problem is this system doesn't understand that what we want to do is we want to use that toString. It's using the default toString method. We want it to use that one. All right. And if you remember yesterday, I told you about overloading. If you remember, that's when we had two different methods, and those methods had different signatures, or what was in the parens was different. Not only can you overload things, you can do what's called override things, which means I don't care which one you typically use, I want you to use mine. So type in the beginning of this, type in override. I think it's like that. There we go. Type in the word override at the beginning. We're still not done, but we're almost there. All right, so you put in that word override. Okay, I'm going to go and try to run it again. And it did work. All right, but typically what you do when you print it out, just to be sure, it's supposed to do this anyway, but you call the .toString method. Because now you're telling it basically, you're telling it directly to call toString. And when you do that and I save, it should still give me the same right output. Can fly false, 0 inches, 0 pounds. This is just the same stuff we were expecting. All right. So what have we looked at so far? Okay. We came in and we created an animal class, and we put in these auto-implemented initializers in there. So we didn't have to go and write all that stuff that we talked about before. All right. And then we put in a, you don't worry about writing this. You're not turning this in anyway. So again, this was our parameter-less constructor, and this was our fully parameterized constructor. So this one was called, right there, that one was called when we did this, and I'm going to change this one to true. You don't have to, but I'm going to change it to true just to show you that if we do change it and we run it again, it now says true. All right. So when we call the second one, or when we instantiated it, the second one right there, it went in and looked for one, and it said, oh, it's got one with 3 things in it. Is it a Boolean, an int, and an int? And it was. So it says, fine, set those values. Does that make sense? All right. Now, all animals can do certain things. Okay? Well, I guess you could even argue about that, but I'm going to assume that all animals can do these 3 things. Okay? I'm assuming that all animals, if you haven't written these in, we can put these in now. I'm assuming all animals can speak. I'm assuming all animals can run. And I'm assuming all animals can climb. And don't worry if they can or can't. It's not a big thing. All right? But right underneath your fully parameterized constructor, if you would please add these 3 methods. So it's right below the constructor, right above the toString. Stop running the program, so I'm going to stop my run there. We could put anything in these methods that we wanted. All of the methods are returning nothing, but we could return something if we wanted. All right, all the stuff that we've learned and we've been using this semester. But I'm just trying to keep it real simple. So if we call the speak method, all it's going to do is it's going to say animal is talking. We'll change that in a little bit, okay? And when we call the run method, it'll just say the animal is running. We're not talking about its speed. We're not talking about what it says, what its speed is, what it's climbing. We don't care. We're just saying that an animal is going to potentially be able to do these things. All right? Everybody have this? So now, go back to your program right here. Okay? And we'll break these up a little bit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to concentrate on animal 2 because we know that it can fly, etc., and all that good stuff. So I'm not going to do anything right now with animal number 1. I'm just going to go into animal number 2. So I'm going to say animal 2 dot, and what you should notice is, look what it can do. It can speak, it can run, it can climb. All right, so I'm going to have them do all of those. So it can speak, it can climb and run. I don't know what was second. It doesn't matter the order in which we do these. All right. Now, what should print out on here is our first animal, which we already said was false and 0 and 0. Then it should print because what do we have here? What it does is it says, okay, I've got to go into my animal class and I've got to see if there's a speak method. And there is. Oh, it just wants me to write on the screen, animal is talking. So that's what it should write. Then it should write, animal is running. Then animal is climbing. So it should write those 3 things. Then it should come back and say, oh, now I want to write all the information out about animal 2. So if we save it and run it, here's what we have. Animal is talking, animal is running, animal is climbing. And that's all the information about this. Now, a couple things that are kind of poor about this. We're not even sure what animal is running, what animal is flying. We don't care right now. All right? We could pass that information in too if we wanted to, but I don't care. I'm just trying to show you how you can add methods inside of a routine, inside of a class, and call those from our main class. That's the idea behind this. All right? Now, good, bad, or indifferent, I wanted to show you something here. And that is, the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to save because I haven't saved in a while, but we're going to add another class. So right mouse click on where it says on the name of your project, not your solution, but right mouse click on the name of your project, and again choose add. This time I'll do it this way. I'll just choose new item. And we're just going to call it dog. All right. Now we could go in and we could do the same things we just did. We could do the exact same things that we just did for animal. Okay? But would you agree with me if I said to you that a dog is an animal? Would you agree with that? All right. So if we want to basically, what I want to show you quickly is inheritance. How easy is it to use inheritance? Well, that easy. Now a dog can do anything an animal can do. Can an animal do anything a dog can do? Right now it can because the dog can't do anything. See what I'm saying? It doesn't do anything right now. All right. Now, let's see what happens here if I come back. So I'm not putting anything in here at all. You with me? This is totally empty. I think you'd agree with that. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go back into my program right here. And for now, because I know that these 2 animal things in here worked, I'm just going to comment all that stuff out with animal. I'm just going to comment every bit of it out. You don't have to do that, but I'm just going to comment it out. All right. Now I'm going to come in and just move down over here a little bit. And I'm going to see if I can make a dog. Well, the good news is it recognized dog, right? See that? So dog Fido equals new dog. Well, I'm not getting any errors. That's a good sign. All right. And I'm going to do a console.writeLine, and I'm going to do a dog, I'm sorry, Fido dot, not Fidey, Fido dot toString. Okay? It's not giving me any errors. That's always a good sign, correct? So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to run it. And I'm getting what? It called the parameterless constructor. It can't fly, and it's 0 inches, 0 pounds. Well, that appears to have worked. All right, and we'll go back and we'll talk about it in just a minute. But I want to make one more dog first. Fido's got a brother, and Fido's brother is Spike. All right, and Spike can't fly. All right, Spike, let's see. Let's just say that he's 50 inches and he's 55 pounds. Okay. And we'll look at that. Oh, wait a minute, we're getting an error. Yeah, I know we're getting an error. So it's coming in here and it says, there is not a Spike constructor that contains 3 arguments. Well, why did the other one work? Oh, are we supposed to go outside? Or in the bathrooms or something? Not outside yet.
We gotta take a look at what it says on the thing in the door or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, it's a tornado. Let's go outside. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? Yeah, isn't it the first Tuesday of the month that it but there's other stuff going on. About a tornado warning? Yep. National Weather Service. Tornado warning in this area until 10:15. Take shelter now. For 7 minutes? I guess we could. Well, they're all going outside, so I guess we should do the 6th. Were you guys, was that last semester where we had the gas leak? Was that with you guys?
Yes, it was.
So we had that last year, well, it was last year. And there was a gas leak in the other building. All right, and we ended up sitting out there, and the good news is it was a decent day, or what? Like,
It was on Friday.
yeah, it was like about an hour and a half, and finally I just told them to go home.